We're inside TikTok's Los Angeles headquarters.
Welcome. I'm very excited that you've come all this way to join us here in LA.
The first ever TV crew to get a tour of its new Transparency and Accountability Center. Opened for politicians, experts, and journalists. The social media giant says it wants to show how it all works.
So this explains how and why I would see what I see when I go on TikTok.
Exactly. So millions of videos, filtering it down so people get thousands of videos.
So let's see if we can figure out how to do this moderation.
But all this is a bit of a show. And it's not just about seeming transparent. TikTok is on a charm offensive, trying to prove it's not a threat.
Is the clock running out on TikTok?
Faces growing calls for it to be banned over fears about China's access to user data.
TikTok is under pressure.
And there are concerns that the app can be used for spying or propaganda by the Chinese Communist Party.
Facing a possible all-out ban in the U.S., concerns over its ownership and potential links to China, forcing it off devices around the world, including any linked to Canada's federal government and all of its provincial ones.
This may be a first step. It may be the only step we need to take, but every step of the way, we're going to be making sure we're keeping Canadians safe.
So you guys know about the TikTok ban?
The threat of more action.
How we use the internet is about to fundamentally change forever, and it's terrifying.
Angering so many who use the app.
If we're going to do something to stop them banning TikTok, now is the time.
A tool for connection, expression, and income with more than 1 billion users around the world.
Okay guys, I never thought I'd have to say this, but TikTok's dying and we need a plan to save it.
It comes down to this. TikTok is owned by ByteDance, a tech company headquartered in Beijing. The concern is a Chinese law that says any organization or citizen shall support, assist, and cooperate with state intelligence work, meaning companies could be forced to secretly hand over user data. TikTok CEO Shou Chu says that won't happen.
The Chinese government has actually never asked us for US user data, and we will not provide, even if asked.
But ByteDance employees in China have improperly accessed the data of TikTok users, including American journalists, before. A BuzzFeed News report said everything was seen in China. There have also been reports of censorship. TikTok denies them, but they've fueled fears of misinformation on the app.
TikTok is a grave threat of foreign influence in American life.
A lot of risks that are pointed out are hypothetical and theoretical risks.
While TikTok is trying to block off all U.S. user data, its so-called Project Texas, Chu had to admit to U.S. lawmakers in March ByteDance could still access some of it.
Yes or no, do they have access to user data?
After Project Texas is done, the answer is no. Today, there's still some data that we need to delete.
So all that helps explain this.
You're going to see some of our servers which contain source code for the app on TikTok.
A front in TikTok's public relations battle to gain and hold on to trust.
So this station is meant to be what TikTok looks like when you're using it on your phone, and it's programmed with some of the most famous Canadian creators
who use the app to reach a global audience. But this is what we're most interested in, the privacy and security hub.
We're constantly working on iterating and making sure that users are able to delete their data.
Deo Sims, one of TikTok's top privacy lawyers, goes through the app's data protection.
And so we work really hard to employ a series of robust controls, particularly access controls for our internal access for our employees. Unless you have a need for the information, you do not have access to it. So, for example,
that may be a veiled reference, but nothing here directly addresses the concerns around ByteDance or China, a strategy that won't stop questions being asked.
It's an amazing space. We've got an incredible team, so we're happy to show it off and talk about it.
Days later, we go to TikTok's Toronto office to see Steve Dier, TikTok's Director of Policy and Government Affairs in Canada.
Thank you, Senator Housakis and committee members, for inviting me to appear today on behalf of TikTok.
Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Steve's job is lobbying Ottawa not to take any further action against the app.
My main concern and what drives me is ensuring that our creators who depend on TikTok for their livelihood are going to continue to be able to use it to promote themselves as creators, artists, or small businesses.
What strikes me the most here is that there is this trust deficit that you have to overcome. You know, you could have transparency centers, you could speak to the media, but at the end of the day, you still have this issue, which is ByteDance ownership of TikTok. So how do you possibly overcome that?
Yeah, ByteDance is not a Chinese company. They are a global company.
Headquartered in Beijing, subject to Chinese laws.
They're incorporated outside of China. The CEO sits in Singapore.
If the Chinese Communist Party went to ByteDance and they said, well, we listened to the testimony on Capitol Hill in March. We know that you still have access to some of this foreign data. We want it under this national security law. Are you saying that ByteDance wouldn't comply with that?
That's correct. We've never provided user information, user data to the Chinese government.
But I'm asking about ByteDance. Are you saying that a ByteDance employee who might still be able to access that data would ignore an order from the Chinese Communist Party?
They wouldn't have access to that data. We have our user data for Canadians is stored in the US, Singapore, and Malaysia.
Even if everything that you're saying is true, can you understand why there is this level of concern?
We definitely understand that there's scrutiny of TikTok and that we need to, again, go above and beyond in how we're addressing that. And we're at the table in Canada, and if there are specific concerns that the Canadian government has about TikTok, we want to understand them so that we can address them.
We reached out to Ottawa, and in a statement, we're told there are concerns about the applicable legal regime that governs the information collected, and Canadians must make an informed decision based on their own risk assessments.
I mean, I don't have it on my phone. My family and friends who ask, I don't advise it.
Sam Andry is an expert in cybersecurity policy at Toronto Metropolitan University. While TikTok may be Canada's fastest growing app, Andry's research shows it's also the least trusted.
If it is possible that this information and data could be shared with China and be part of kind of their surveillance apparatus, you know, it's not worth the risk, essentially.
But back in California, on the campus of UCLA, some argue all this TikTok trouble is overblown.
This idea of data crossing borders and data being unsafe, it's not unique to TikTok.
Sarah Roberts, a professor focusing on social media, says all apps need better regulation, not just TikTok.
What's going on with the data collection? What's going on with protecting users from AI that is promoting incorrect information? And maybe the focus on TikTok will open up some of those conversations, but I'm worried that it will become a narrow kind of inquiry. I mean, a lot of the criticism is correct, but we can't be in the dark and pretend like there isn't this aspect to it that is deeply xenophobic and kind of coming from that as well.
So if you want TikTok to stay around, please write to your congressmen and women.
TikTok may be facing more pressure now, with simmering tensions between the West and China.
Saying China a bunch of times does not an argument make.
But it's become so deeply entrenched, experts say it likely isn't going anywhere.
It's just been amazing to watch people create things, to learn things. This app means so much to me.